What do you say to someone who said, you know, I thought this was a Ukrainian orphanage group, you know, why are they branching out so much? What's the answer?
Well, originally that was the main goal, was to work in the orphanages in Ukraine, but we're here for children, you know, children around the world. So not just the children in Ukraine need help, but in many of these other countries, there's actually a higher need than what's even in Ukraine.
Our mission hasn't really changed, but the needs have changed. Our mission is still there to provide for the ones who can't provide for themselves.
Well, I think the biggest thing with Hopeful Hearts this year has just been the expansion. You know, we've really stepped out of our comfort zone. You know, that's one thing we don't want to do, is we don't want to be stagnant. We want to continue to grow, and as things kind of change in Ukraine, it's really forced our hand to move out into some other areas.
These areas are crying for our help. They love our help.
Haiti was a hard trip. It was hot, and the food was a little bit hard. There was no getting away from the devastation, and the heartache and the heartbreak was just everywhere.
It tore my heart in two when I first was there, to see once again the looks on their faces, especially when I'm out in the streets and seeing these people. I mean, it's just groups and groups of people, and look like they're going nowhere, and they're just in despair.
When I saw the kids in Haiti for the first time, it was nothing I could prepare for. It was probably worse conditions than even when we started in Ukraine.
And one of the interesting things that we learned while we were there was that the families feed the children what they call mud cookies. They just make cookies out of mud, and they put a few little things in it, and they feed the kids with it because they don't have any food. And what happens is the kids end up getting parasites and just being really, really sick.
As a board, we started discussing, and we went on an exploratory trip.
And while we were in the midst of talking about what should we do, we get the email from Myanmar. I get a phone call from a friend of mine that lives in Pewee Valley that says, I have a lady here from Sri Lanka that would like to talk to your board. It wasn't that we really ever went looking for anything. It was that it just began to present itself, and doors began to open, and we felt comfortable with the decision that we should move forward.
I would probably tell them about Samuel Thang, who last year at this time we didn't even know about. He's just a man who took 61 children into his home.
He's actually a pastor, and he heads up Malawi Christian Church, and these kids are brought up in a Christian environment. We kept waiting for him to say, well, I need this, I need some money, and we never got to that point. He never asked us for any. So we talked to Samuel, and we had $1,600, and he said, we want you to use this for your ministry as needed. And he literally broke down crying. With that money, he was able to send 51 children to school. They got their books, all their materials that they needed, and uniforms.
Hopeful Hearts does work in the orphanage where I adopted my first two children. So I've went back on the blessing bag trips, and I've seen the dramatic difference to the building. I've seen the dramatic difference to the facilities and the children. So I know that it's making a difference.
Oh, Ukraine, that always will be our comfort zone. That's home. Never really thought of Ukraine as home until I went to Myanmar and Sri Lanka and Haiti, but now Ukraine is just a piece of cake. But no, that is our comfort zone. That is where each of us left a little piece of our heart when we adopted our children. It's going well.
But we are, quite honestly, we're at a crossroads. Our budgets, our donations have kind of stabilized the last 3 years, and we budget accordingly. But I believe that if we can just break through this barrier where we're at right now, God's laying the needs before us. But we need to grow. I mean, we need more donations to come in.
Well, God has been very, very faithful with a wonderful a strong base of supporters. And obviously with the economy the last couple of years, it's made us a little, stop and think. But we haven't slowed down. We've continued to move into these other countries and take on some new projects, and God has blessed those efforts.
We will continue doing what we're doing with what we have and be responsible with it.
I guess a kind word would be you guys are very frugal too.
Very frugal. We can stretch a penny.
The orphanage work is wonderful, and it's great that those kids, now their toes aren't cut out of their shoes. They have shoes that fit, their clothes are clean, their hair is clean, and that's great. And the medicine and the food is there, but the transitional living homes are just, that's just what makes my heart beat a little faster when I leave there all the time, is when we go there and eat with them and visit with them, and I see the progression of how they're doing. And there was a little girl in the transition home at Christmas that wanted to share her her photo album book with us. And the main thing that she wanted to show us, it was a whole section in this photo of a family. And I thought, who is this family? And then we found out through talking to her, they were the family that almost adopted her. This is the family that almost took me in. This is the family that almost wanted me. And she still carries their pictures around. Well, we're the family that took her. We didn't almost take her. Hopeful Hearts is the family that took her. And we are a family.